Hi, I'm Miranda Freeman, a doctoral student at the University of West Georgia. I'm currently a scholar practitioner in training, learning how to use scholarship, as Dr. Pope says, to fix problems and practices to improve outcomes for students in schools. Specifically, I believe strongly in the constructivism paradigm of research. I believe we are molded by our individual experiences and interpretation of those experiences. I believe our values and our beliefs are strong indicators of how we will interact with others and how we make sense of the world we live in. I have three biases that I'm currently aware of. They are: one, I have a cultural and racial bias. I have a strong sense of wanting my culture or race to be successful, and I have a sense of pride being among my culture and race. Two, I have a work ethic and accountability bias. I believe you bring your own morale to school. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You need to honor your contract and complete your duties and responsibilities at high levels every day. And three, I have a high standards for teaching bias. Poor teaching abilities deeply concern me. I believe poor teaching is detrimental to the lives of students, especially in those schools who have marginalized populations. To categorize my biases into subjectivity eyes, like Peshkin, my subjectivity eyes would be ethnic maintenance eye, accountability eye, and pedagogical malorist eye. I can identify with Peshkin's ethnic maintenance eye. I have a strong sense of wanting my race to achieve and a strong attachment to my culture. I love walking into my school every day and seeing faces that look like mine. When they are successful, I have so much pride, it is sometimes overwhelming. This pride and the want for my race to be successful may skew some of my thinking if I begin to make excuses for why children of color or teachers of color are not performing as I would like. I will have to be conscious of this as I'm conducting my research study. However, the strength of this subjectivity is that it may allow me to make connections and understand the experiences of the individuals participating in my research study. This would make my research more empathetic and culturally sensitive. Additionally, I am a strong believer that if you are getting paid for a job, you should give 100% of yourself to that job during your work hours. Being a woman of color and always having to work for everything I have achieved despite obstacles, I firmly believe you bring your own motivation to everything you do. I would call this subjectivity an accountability eye. Having a strong work ethic is something I value, especially if it is impacting students. The strength of this subjectivity is that it leads to high standards, which can improve the quality of my research. The weakness of this subjectivity is I may become frustrated with participants in the research study who lack a strong work ethic, which could negatively impact my interactions with them. It will be important for me to remember that not everyone shares my level of dedication and accountability. I believe it's educational malpractice to teach students in a poor manner. When teachers fail to plan effectively and deliver poor lessons, it causes educational harm to students, which can take a considerable amount of time to correct. Like Peshkin, who believed many, in this case students, would pay a high price at the hands of uninspired teachers, I believe this as well, and the price would be poverty. There have been times during observations where I have stepped in to take over a lesson when I have observed subpar teaching to ensure the students were learning effectively. Afterwards, I provided the teacher with support through coaching suggestions and professional development. If suggestions or professional development were not implemented, I worked to ensure the teacher was removed from my school. Peshkin's pedagogical malorist eye resonated with me. If you aren't teaching to the best of your ability or not implementing suggestions for improvement, my patience wears thin. The strength of this subjectivity is that I am committed to ensuring the best people are standing in front of students and students are receiving the best education, since the teacher will be held accountable for their performance. The weaknesses the weakness of this subjectivity is that it may cause me to be overly critical and may affect how I evaluate teacher practices objectively. For me to stay aware of my subjectivities, it will be important for me to use strategies such as: 1. Reflective practice. I will need to continuously reflect on my biases. This will help me remain aware of my biases and how to address them. I think keeping a journal of what I'm feeling, seeing, and hearing as the research is conducted is a practical way of documenting where my biases may arise. Another strategy I will incorporate is peer review. Seeking feedback from peers is going to be critical to limiting my biases. I often run ideas and thoughts by my peers and mentors to make sure I stay objective, so peer review would be a natural addition. Something new I'll be trying is bracketing. I will need to ensure I set aside my own assumptions to fully engage with my participants and their perspectives. This will also allow my participants to feel safe during the research study. As far as possible research topics, I'm considering researching the administrative demands of special education teachers and their impact on teaching and learning. My interest in this research topic is driven by my commitment to improve educational outcomes. This is also a major issue in my high school, and I have been charged to revamp the special education department, including their processes and procedures. The procedures involved in this research topic align with all three of my subjectivity I's: ethnic maintenance I, accountability I, and pedagogical malorist I. My research study will touch on cultural and racial pride. The participants in my research study will be mostly teachers who serve children of color. I will assess how the impact of administrative tasks such as writing IEPs and data collection are impacting the time spent on teaching and learning. Understanding this impact will help me to ensure accountability and high standards in teaching. The goal of this research study is to improve pedagogical practices to enhance educational outcomes despite the administrative demands of special education teachers. For this research topic, I think a phenomenology research approach is best. Phenomenology research focuses on understanding how research participants feel, perceive, and make sense of their roles within a system, rather than just collecting data. It involves gathering descriptive data through interviews and reflective narratives to understand the impact of administrative burdens on aspects like time, stress, and teaching quality. Some key participants for my phenomenology research would be special education teachers, school psychologists, IEP directors or coordinators, and parents involved in the IEP process. For my school specifically, we also have an IST, an instructional support teacher, who specifically works with our special education department. So I definitely would also include her as a key participant. Data collection through interviews and observations will help me to identify core themes such as stress, time constraints, and any feelings of disempowerment. I'm looking forward to uncovering the lived experiences of all stakeholders as they navigate the demands of IDEA, especially the paperwork and compliance requirements tied to IEPs. Thank you.